Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Equity Panel, the Investee's View. My name is Bayan. I'm Associate Director at the Private Equity team. I'd like to mention a few housekeeping points. We have translation available into Russian through the devices in this room and online, and we'd like to have audience participation. To use the app, Slido, so you can participate in the poll and also ask questions. I seem to get lucky with timings, because a few months ago in an investors event in Bucharest, my session was the last one just before the wine tasting. And today, on the last day of the event, this panel is just before the closing party. So you can see I'm already dressed for the party in the latest Uzbek fashion. But of course, we saved the best for last, as equities are undoubtedly the most exciting and impactful part of EBRD's operations. EBRD is usually known as an active lender, and not many realize that EBRD is also the largest investor in the region. I'd like to ask the audience a quick question. What percentage of EBRD's portfolio is in equities? Is it 5%, 10%, 15%, or 20%? Right, we have already the answers up. At present, it is 11%, close to 10%. We had to revalue our portfolio because of the geopolitical events. But historically, it has been closer to 15%. And in some years, even as high up as 18%. And equities have contributed significantly to banks' profitability. Let me give you 5 key numbers. 19 billion has been invested by EBRD directly and as a limited partner in private equity funds since the start of EBRD's operations in 1991. And currently, our portfolio of assets under management is 5 billion euros. But today, we're only talking about direct investments. And for that, we have 1 billion euros annual dry powder available to invest. Currently, our portfolio consists of 175 companies, private and listed, and during the life of EBRD, that's 30+ years, we have invested in over 750 companies across all of our 38 countries of operations. Let's zoom on Uzbekistan and our 2 latest investments, Korzinka, the largest retail chain, food chain, and also TBC Bank Uzbekistan, which is a challenger digital bank. It is my pleasure to introduce you 2 panelists today, Mr. Zafar Khashimov, the founder and the chairman of Korzinka, and Kurdiani, head of international and the chairman of TBC Bank Uzbekistan. Before we begin, I'd like to show you 2 videos. The first one would be on Korzinka. That is our investment of 40 million euros for 30% of the company in Anglesey Food, which is operating in Uzbekistan under the brand name Korzinka.
We saw a huge potential for this company to become one day one of the largest employers and possibly one of the largest enterprises in the country. This is very important to us. EBRD is first and foremost an impact investor. Korzinka, as the largest food retailer in the country, will have an outsized influence, and we hope a positive influence, in raising the standards in terms of food quality, in terms of waste management or packaging. Also, by building a store network and a distribution network that is highly cognizant of its environmental impact, carbon emissions, energy efficiency, we believe we will set an example for others to follow in the country.
This investment has helped us enormously to grow our supermarket business twofold over the last couple of years. To be able to start a new e-commerce channel, which is already up and running and we're very pleased with. To be able to open a B2B channel, first one in the country from a grocer, which will help us enormously to strengthen our buying team, and to make a major investment in logistics, the biggest of its kind in the country.
The partnership with EBRD actually opened us a big road to development. And it is not only about money, it is about expertise. Before EBRD, I have to say, it was like more or less one-man show. It was all based on entrepreneurial initiatives of mine and my management. EBRD actually introduced us to a lot of knowledgeable people in our industry to assess our strengths and weaknesses. With the help of EBRD, we formed a very effective, I would say, and the board was a very big potential knowledge and experience, which helped us to form up our strategy, which we successfully implementing year after year, and really posting those growth which we promised.
And the second video is about the startup bank, TBC Bank Uzbekistan. EBRD has committed $27 million for 20% of the company, alongside our partner, IFC, that is investing on the same terms.
Uzbekistan is one of the highest growth countries in our region, with one of the highest populations and with one of the highest, if not the highest, economic growth potentials. Of course, as being one of the most successful banks in the region, we were trying to expand to other countries, and in that moment Uzbekistan was offering very favorable and promising conditions and perspectives for us to move into the country and start developing our banking franchise here locally in Uzbekistan. During the last several years, we managed to introduce many innovative products, all of them end-to-end digital, without any human involvement in the processes, starting from consumer finance, going on with savings value proposition, and with various transactional services.
TBC Uzbekistan is a pioneer in many ways that leads by example. Its mobile-first business model demonstrates how it's possible to leapfrog the traditional branch-heavy banking model and move to a less carbon-intensive one. This model is also more effective in increasing banking penetration quickly by reaching the underbanked segments of the population. TBC Uzbekistan benefits not just its own clients and shareholders, but the broader banking ecosystem as well. It raises the bar for the market with the best practices it offers, in motivating its competitors to match its offerings and do better.
Let's begin our discussion. We'll have probably about 40 minutes, and then hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. EBRD can only invest as a minority investor. And therefore, for us, the choice of the partner is very important. Zafar, for you as a private entrepreneur, letting somebody else into your business can be a very personal choice and intense experience. What were the conditions at the time, internal or external, that made you think that you need a partner? And why did the final choice fall on EBRD?
Thank you very much for inviting. I thank EBRD for giving this opportunity, and I want to individually thank you for using Korzinka colors on a stage which was colored by EBRD and TBC colors. Yes, coming to your question. Yes, as I said also in that short video, as a founder, when you are doing it, you have, apart from like being an entrepreneur and having like, let's say, business relationship with your company, it's very private and personal. And, I'm glad to see Kamola here. She was one of our first customers in our first store back in 1997. And account manager, yes. And first store actually was financed by ABN AMRO Bank, which Kamola worked at the time. So yeah, and when you start, and it's like, and it was growing not always smoothly. Along the way, we were making a lot of mistakes, learning our lessons, and by 2016 there were also a lot of external restrictions to grow, like absence of conversion, very, very difficult situation with the, there were difference between cash money, bank money, and that whole tax system was astray, and it was very difficult, and we wanted to grow, and the decision to grow a national chain came actually much earlier, I would say around 2005, and but in 2016, with the change of leadership in the country and unleashing potential of the country by taking off all those administrative, monetary, tax, banking restrictions, conversion restrictions, we knew that we should be very fast to really grow because the market, was really, really virgin with our 20 stores. Summer 2016, for almost 20 years of our presence in the market, we were only 20 stores. And it was difficult to take that, we were nurturing this so hard, so tough, and then, somebody comes and takes this market, and we've seen, there were a very, some big players looking at the market, and we started to rush, and at that time, we needed both, of course, money to support that growth, but also, knowledge and expertise, and it was all natural that we approached IFIs and EBRD. I have to say, EBRD was first deep and close to the market of all IFIs at the time, and good for both of us.
Yes,
and that's how it is, and since then we developed our strategy. We start to grow, and as I was on train to Samarkand, the ribbon was cut on our 112th store.
Wow, wow. That is a great achievement.
But I recently, I was just before the session talking to a friend, and I said this 3 years with EBRD was a very transformative and very interesting, exciting journey for a company, and it is actually in many ways a different company, but I think with the same good soul, and it has been a personal journey for me as well, of a private entrepreneur, of somebody doing and sharing the I would say governance and management with the partners with the board, like when you have to really give your powers, give your controls, and do it, I would say, consciously, and sometimes actually, it gives you sleepless nights. And, it's not easy thing, but I'll tell you.
I think, we will talk a little bit later about that.
Okay,
yes.
but you said as a person, so I was giving my personal perspective to it. Thank you.
And I think with TBC, the story is different because we have been partners for over 10 years. We have been an active lender and also a shareholder in TBC Georgia and TBC Group PLC. Why did you need EBRD and IFC as direct investors in the Uzbek venture?
Basically, TBC in Georgia is the leading bank, right? It's the biggest one in market share in many different things, in many initiatives. But we had a small market before, which was not Georgia, where we operate still, which is Azerbaijan, but a major international expansion was a new story for us. And to be very honest, we needed more institutional experience in terms of going out of our borders. And to do this with a stable partner, IFI partner like EBRD and IFC, for us was a stepping stone, I would say, in terms of building trust in the region, building our self-confidence, running things in a way where we would grab the brains of our colleagues from EBRD and IFC and experience. So I think this is the main answer, basically, why we would be thinking about having partners, already being a very big institution in the region.
Okay. Zafar, now we're going to come to that transformation period, because it took us quite a while to get to the investment stage, right? Because we started to get engaged in 2017, and we only invested at the beginning of 2020, because the company had to get ready for the investment. We had to do, obviously the company had to do, but we helped out to get the first IFRS audit, the first inventory, environmental, social standards, corporate governance. I must be forgetting something else, but it was a challenging process. What was the most important part of it for you, and how do you see that transformation now that you've gone through it and we made that investment?
Yes. On a company level, just imagine us like 2017, and I think we started to talk with EBRD even before that conversion restrictions were lifted off. So, and it's difficult to grasp how could we go this all IFRS and due diligence and all these with all that. So actually, this transformation, adding more transparency, better accounting, financial reporting, and it is not only us getting prepared to it, and the country was also changing. Like I think that the new tax code, which came to implemented in beginning of 2019. I mean, shouldn't that reform took place? I don't believe that we could have finished up with the deal, and other reforms were coming. So it was kind of a lot of variables actually met together.
So the environment was changing together with the
everything,
company.
Yeah, but company was doing its homework also. Sometime this, and I remember the times all this change. They were like exhausting all the team. It's such a process, a very difficult process, and no, but I think that we were very committed. And we knew what we wanted, and that was a great motivation to move these all heavy stones and bring about the deal. So that was like 2 years, as you said, preparation period was in itself a transformation, and I can say the beginning of this journey and the end of the journey was not only different company, it was different country.
Yes, I would agree with that for sure. EBRD doesn't make many startup investments, and the reason we went with TBC Group was because we believed in its capability to deliver, because you have your operational and the technical expertise. The one question that we were asked at our investment committee was about the business plan, one main question, because TBC made a very bold statement that they will achieve profitability in 3 years. But if you think about big players such as Revolut, Starling in the UK, N26 in Germany, big sophisticated markets, none of those companies have achieved that. So what made you confident that you would be able to deliver?
Firstly, we achieved in 2 years rather than 3 years. So the first positive month was October 2022, and then this year and ever since, every month has been profitable, and we are sure that it will be going this way further. I think the strong focus on the strategy and the way you are implementing what you thought you should implement from the very beginning is the key to the answer. Because the market in Uzbekistan is developing very fast. There are many challenges, there are many initiatives, there are many possibilities, there are tons of new initiatives happening from competitors, and you have to be super focused on your roadmap, because otherwise you may defocus. It may sound easy, but in reality, on a daily basis, when you see your competitors, people who were not there at all, and now they are new entrants to the market, starting new things, you think, maybe I should be doing that too. But the focus on your roadmap, and on your business plan and on your strategy is, I think, the key factor in this success. Otherwise, you would defocus and then you don't know where you end up. The business plan which we put basically was very well thought through, and I can easily say that we did not deviate even for a sec from what we said in the very beginning. And many people on the market were a bit of skeptical, they were saying, why are you not going into, let's say, massively into car lending? We see these car imports happening, many people buying new cars. I mean, we launched our car loan just recently because this was in the business plan, and this was happening now and not 1 year ago. So I think focus is the answer, and focus is the key answer for the success, in my opinion.
With TBC Uzbekistan, it also took you quite a while to launch the operations, because you had to apply for pre-license and then the license. And that process took close to a year. If we can have the picture up, I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. You understand what I mean. So this is the package of information that the team had to submit to the central bank. We have Sitora here, who is unfortunately not with us today. She's holding fort in Tashkent. And one of our nerds in the team have calculated, if you put all these papers, line them up, it would stretch to 2.8 kilometers. So you can imagine that it was a very, very intensive, labor-intensive process. But if you, with the hindsight, if you go back and you would think about it, then what would you do differently?
Yeah, it was very difficult, not only in terms of number of papers, but also because the team had to be so committed that did all this during COVID.
Yes.
And it was the lockdowns, as we know, and this was like super difficult. We see on the picture the core team from the very beginning, which was dealing with the project and the initiatives. We had a huge debate in-house about going greenfield or buying a bank. And we had numerous experiences within the team in terms of acquisitions of institutions.
You had your own experience as well.
I had my own, my other colleagues had their own, and basically we all understood that, when you are, firstly the challenge was expanding to other country, which is a massive challenge. And second, buying a legacy basically is also a challenge, because you have cultural legacy, you have technology legacy, you have business legacy, product legacy, so on and so on. So all this transformation would take time. So we thought, maybe we apply for a license. Getting the license took a bit more than a year. And now thinking back, maybe, buying a smaller institution where there is much less to do with the legacy, in my personal opinion, could be an alternative, to be very honest, because you would not spend time on waiting. However, in Uzbekistan, we were, I would say, smart enough to invest in PayMe, right? From the very beginning, where we had the controlling stake invested in 2019. So we acquired PayMe, which was growing massively. In the moment of acquisition, it had 1 million customers registered. Now it has 9.5. And in the meantime, the bank caught up, and now the bank is there and the PayMe is there. So I think we did a very smart move. However, if we take plain just bank discussion, maybe it could be an alternative to go into a smaller institution, much smaller, so that you don't waste time on setting up everything from the scratch.
So anyone is thinking about buying a bank in Uzbekistan, this is the lesson that you can learn from. Zafar, so if we talk about the investment period, so EBRD's investment case was based on the ability of Korzinka as a leader in the market to lead that conversion from traditional retail, and that means bazaars, to the modern retail. So we believed in the ability of the company to deliver on that, on the growth. What were your expectations and your perceptions when you were entering the partnership with us? And what were your worries, your concerns, and what actually happened when you entered? And what happened now?
Well, we signed our financing agreements on 11th of February 2020. In 1 month's time, everybody was on lockdown. So whatever I was expecting, life changed it a lot because, it brought both challenges and opportunities for us.
So was it a blessing or a curse?
Generally, you cannot call pandemics blessing, but, for a business, yes, yeah. it did help. We were very proactive even before it was quarantine. When we started to hear, we started to post like in a social media for warnings for our customers. We placed, if you scroll we placed hand sanitizers, etc. We were proactive even before it was an announced pandemic and quarantine in Uzbekistan. Everybody wear masks, gloves, and we thought that we are responsible for our customers. And we took all necessary precautions. We were doing daily disinfection of all stores. I think that when this quarantine and panic came, our customers valued that, and which actually traditional market could not deliver. We were not doing it in it wasn't marketing intention. It was just our responsibility to our customers. But apparently, it just brought that dimension. Another thing, when it was locked down, the employment question. A lot of offices, stores, other places were closed, but food stores remained open. And we knew that people could not travel much. And we started actively, because we had the flow of customers coming, and we started actively to hire people who were temporarily out of job. And that also created kind of positive attitude of our customers and our neighborhoods, because people from neighborhood, transport wasn't available, so they were coming and working with us. And some of them on part-time, some of them full-time. And yes, that year brought record traffic and sales. And the end of 2020, when we were budgeting for 2021, I thought okay, that growth was kind of one-off, and then we were this. And while budgeting, we were pretty conservative. Will we reach those sales? And I think that this also helped to create I would say new behavior, new habit for our customers. And people who joined us during quarantine, they didn't leave, they stayed. And then we were opening stores all throughout 2021, 22. Some of our expansions were halted during 2020 because of a pandemic, but then we were opening, and from our plan, 6 months ramp-up period, we decreased the ramp-up period to 3 months, And every new store we were opening was immediate success. All throughout 2021 and 2022, we expanded much more into regions, not only Tashkent. And I think that, you know, again, due to different maybe circumstances, but expectations were exceeded.
So what was your original business
plan,
we were, you
remember, we were to deliver by 2020 540 stores. We will probably be there this year. So it's like in Russia, you know, in Soviet time they had Pятилетка. Yeah, we did our Pятилетка in 3 years.
That's impressive, very impressive, yes. So it's a great work that has been done by the team and obviously everyone working in Korzinka. With TBC, because we're talking about startup, what was the role of EBRD in a startup and how does that compare with the role that we played in TBC Georgia and TBC Group afterwards?
Yeah, overall, I think, you know, institutionalization is the answer. I think there were many requirements on one hand, but on the other hand, suggestions to create different types of governance procedures, processes, structures, you know, answer certain questions which we may have skipped during the startup period. And it's not about the fact that we are, you know, a big banking group. Definitely we have lots of experience ourselves in Georgia and elsewhere, but, you know, when you're in startup reality in a different country than your home country, you know, the processes develop very fast. And the board structure and the governance structure while you are in daily startup mode. So I think the key contribution of EBRD was exactly focusing our attention on certain topics which could by no means have been missed. And this is, in my opinion, the answer.
Okay, great. There is a concern that partnering up with EBRD can, you know, with institutional investors like EBRD, may have a negative impact, especially on the entrepreneurial culture in the case of the private company or a startup. What is your opinion? What benefits or challenges did you have as an entrepreneur and then you had an active shareholder like EBRD?
Yeah, of course, like, you know, EBRD is an institution with its strict rules, regulations, reporting, transparency. You mentioned ESG agenda and other things. But actually, like last year with my friend, we released videocast, like, you know, and where I was explaining this, and actually all those things which would be like, you know, in a first glance seem something like a little bit defocusing you from main business are actually components of your business and its sustainable development. And when you're building something big and you want it to last and flourish further, you have to take those aspects, and this appreciation actually came to me with the years. It didn't come at once, and now, you know, some programs which I was like, okay, as a demand from EBRD, like kind of imposed things which I was doing, like, let's say, corporate governance standards, etc. Now it's helping, and I understand that without that, we wouldn't be where we are now. So it is not something, it is actually components of successfully building business, and that appreciation actually comes with experience. And on that videocast, I was telling, listen, all this is a business decisions, and all these are feasible and good investments if you want to build, because like how you can scale without governance, how you can scale without, you know, like social, environmental, because, you know, government, it's not just like we are good thinking, good willing people. It's like, you know, now regulations coming on non-renewable energy, regulations coming on this, and if you don't get yourself prepared, those changes catch you by surprise, and probably you will not sustain, you cannot survive them. And in that sense, I think that those things which are like maybe at first glance would look for you like complicated and difficult, like burdens, they're actually something which proves themselves right with the time.
Well, for me, one of the most fulfilling part of the job is seeing the journey, especially of the people. What they were at the very beginning when we started investing, and then what they are 3 or 5 years later. I mean, it's great fun watching people grow in confidence, in expertise. What has been your personal journey during that process, and probably of your team as well, that has been growing together with you?
Oh, yeah, that is what I started at. Yeah, it is a big personal transformation of your worldview. You know, like, and I think, like, you know. It seemed to me like, you know, that like, and everybody can say that a supermarket is a simple thing. You buy things, you put on the shelf, and customers take it and sell it. But and that's what we were doing for all those 20 years. Like, you know, of course, researching and learning what works, what doesn't work. You know, like, and making this. But now, you know, and we were like a couple of thousand employees at the time. Now we are nearly 10,000 employees, and Korzinka, as it is now, having impact, you know, and impact which is this. People call supermarkets in Uzbekistan Korzinka. They don't go, I go shop, they say, I go Korzinka, you know. It became household name, and it is big responsibility, but also big impact. And, you know, and feeling that is like, I would say, on a personal level, beyond any, how to call it, it's like, that it's such a fulfilling, you know, and it's such a satisfying thing, and you start to understand, you know, it was all these difficulties which never finished. I mean, it's not like we are in Shangri-La, you know, like we still doing very, very, I would say, hard lessons we're learning. But despite this, you know, something really, I would say, beautiful for me, and I like myself in the position where I am now.
Great, great. Nico, we've been together for what, 3 years, right? Not close to 3. What has been your experience as a startup with EBRD, as a big institutional investor?
So I would say, you know, overall, pluses and minuses. I mean, pluses, it has been surprising because, you know, I was, to be honest, from the very beginning, I was thinking to myself, we're going to be a startup company, a startup bank, a technological startup bank in Uzbekistan, and doing things for the first time. And now having EBRD, IFC, and including TBC Group, you know, as shareholders, you have to be super flexible in terms of managing up and managing down, right? However, I mean, things, to be very honest, I mean, have been very smooth, and we both know it. I mean, definitely there were certain questions where you had to spend more time explaining. There were certain procedures where you had to build them up. Maybe you have, may have skipped them, if not this type of shareholders. But at the end of the day, you know, I agree with Zafar. I mean, this all contributes to development, and there has not been anything which would have, which stopped us anyhow. But again, you know, I mean, I don't want to say only positive things. There are things where you have to spend time explaining, you know, talking, persuading, justifying, bringing more arguments. If you would be alone, you would decide by yourself. And you, by yourself meaning with a team of management, you know. But in this case, you have to manage up, manage down. But things went smooth. We have almost 3 million customers now, so.
Yes, that's great. But sometimes it just makes you focus and think about it a little bit more, I suppose, right? Yeah, discipline. I'd like to change the topic a little bit and talk about diversity, and specifically gender diversity, because we haven't really covered that topic. I'm quite proud of the fact that on TBC Bank Uzbekistan we have 3 women on the board of directors, and I think it's probably unprecedented in the country because all 3 shareholders have nominated women, including myself. But I'd like to ask you about the executive team. How did that form? Because you also have the presence of women there.
Yes, Chief Risk Officer is a woman, and Chief Operating Officer, which is, I would say, not very frequent case, is a woman too. And both of them are local, and this makes us very proud too. So we have a team overall which can be, I mean, group-wide we have a team where approximately 70% of TBC Group's employees are women. And this is remarkable, in my opinion. And of course, in Uzbekistan, we are trying to build the same structure. On the board, we have, as you said, 3 women. In the management, we have more women, and so on and so on. So I think this brings lots of value, because this diversity topic brings more, I would say, stability and more analytical approach to things. You know, you are not always with emotions. You know, men tend to be more emotional, and you balance somehow. So I think this strategy of ours, and I can easily say it's component of a strategy. It doesn't happen just like that. Empowers us more.
That's great.
Yeah.
Zafar, we all know that 70–80% of the consumer purchasing decisions are made by women. So how are they represented in your decision making?
Yeah, of course, we have to reflect on that aspect, especially of our customers. Even when we see that we have a male and female customer daily coming in, we know that males, they always have a list made by female, you know, like, for their shopping. So, yeah, no, we have. We also, I'm proud, really. We have out of 5 board, we have 1 female member and observer and board secretary. And on a management level, women are represented even more. Out of 13 top team members, 5 are women, and also, what is interesting that these are really good shop managers. You know, they can do this job, you know, day in, day out, with the same precision, perfection, and this. And again, out of 8 regional managers now, 4 are ladies, and it is those who manage like clusters of 10 shop each, yeah. So and I have to say, like, they're like better than average.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. And you know, finding out that we actually launched in HR program within us. It calls Yıldız. Yıldız is a star and also the lady's name in Uzbek. And Yıldız, and this actually accelerates when we see that, like, you know, we say field employees join us, and this, and if we feel that they have this potential, we support them to
career
get to supervisor, yeah, to level, and it is both education, and it is special courses, it is trainings. You know, we hire psychologists to train them on building relationship, and it's being actually, and you can see these girls, you know, when they come to shop as the cashier or shop assistant, and then like year 2 later they are like supervisor, managers of the store, you know, and I see it's just completely, you know, they feel empowered, enabled, and that gives also a good feeling, and also this diversity making like, you know, making things work better. You know, and we also had some this about diversity, like what is this, like merit or diversity, you know, like, and it is together, you know. When you reach diversity, merits of everyone is better than,
yes.
You know, separately.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'd like also to talk about SMEs, because that's at the core of the EBRD's mandate. And you know that when we were investing in TBC, that was one of our conditions, that the bank needs to start lending to SMEs whenever the market ready and whenever the bank is ready. Zafar, if you put your old hat as a young businessman that is just starting out and would like to get credit, what would be the one single feature that you would like banks to change to make that access to credit easier?
Oh, that's easy question for Uzbekistan. Banks give credits in Uzbekistan only when you collateralize asset. And, you know, I mean, for a beginning businessman, how much asset he can collateralize, almost none, and you need money to develop, like, if you would have asset which is twice sometime more expensive than the credit you can get. I mean, that whole meaning lost, and then it's actually better to sell that asset and finance your growth. So don't just go bank. But entrepreneurs with brilliant ideas, they come to banks, and then, okay, you have to collateralize. I would change that thing. I mean, banks maybe should be a little bit more aggressive, I would say, or how you call it.
I think that's the next question to TBC, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
but again, that is, I think, more to do with regulation rather than banks.
Let's hear from Nico on that one, because when you're planning to...
Just to add that, and another thing is that interest rates are so high now, generally, they're 20 and above. Imagine what should be your year-to-year growth to be doing that. That's also, I think, for small and medium business is quite a big challenge. And plus, the all formal procedure and negotiations of the credit sometimes takes very long. I'll tell you, when I started this business, I was lucky. ABN AMRO just opened, and when I wanted to buy first my store, I went to ABN AMRO. I don't know if Hugo is here. I came and I put my case. It was morning I came in, and evening I went with a signed contract. And ABN AMRO came to the market, and it was fresh, 96. They just got their license, and they were kind of open. They were. Yeah. It was like European bank in the center of Tashkent. And that was actually our luck.
Wow.
But
okay.
which is very difficult now. Yeah.
So Nika. So when you start lending to SMEs, what would be your product offering to them? And would it be an answer to the fast press?
Yeah, firstly, to answer on the last one, I cannot agree more with Zafar in terms of collateral. I mean, frequently, if you look at SME lending, collateral is the biggest obstacle. TBC in Georgia has approximately 40% market share in SMEs. We are the biggest one, and we know this business for many, many years. I mean, we are present in all types of MSME lending, starting from startup lending, going to agro, mini, micro, SME, and mid-corp. So basically, we have gone through all cycles and through all product value propositions, and we clearly understand, where you have to deploy what kind of instrument. Collateral is just one of the instruments of lending, right? For instance, in the starting entrepreneurs, the volumes they request for their business mostly is working capital, and the volumes are not huge. And frequently it is totally disproportionate what is the required collateral and what is the volume taken. So our insight, for instance, in Uzbekistan is that we have to try, of course regulation is a topic, but we have to try and to avoid all these kind of obstacles and be as quick as possible. We're a digital bank. I mean, I will go to the mission of the group, which is make people's life easier, and you cannot make people's life easier by requesting many difficult questions. So, I mean, our target is to start lending this year, start lending in a way that it will allow customers to do it digitally within a day. And by this, I'm answering, I think, indirectly the first question on collateral.
Thank you.
Inshallah. It's going to happen. Yes. We are now ready to move to the questions. If somebody has a question in the audience.
Or Slido.
Or Slido. Yes, please. I don't know. Okay.
advantages you consider if you get the money from EBRD, then you will not only get the money itself, but also like 1, 2, 3, and these things. This is the question.
In our case, we are a big banking group, and we are in Uzbekistan for good. You don't build a bank for 3 years and then you leave. That's why you need to have partners which are with you also for long periods, which bring you stability, bring you institutional strengths, and somehow empower you for this long journey. So when you, which is called, you said smart money, I would call smart money is the answer. You don't need just money. And then for TBC, funding was definitely a secondary topic. I mean, the first topic was, you know, what kind of partner you're going to have beside you when you are embarking on a journey like TBC Uzbekistan.
Yeah, I can say I fully support, because I mean, you know, the equity is never about money only. It is like joining in marriage. You know, there are so many other aspects should be the same. Your vision, your values, you know, with your partner, and even like personal relationship with very important with the team whom you are working with. So yeah, and for us, let's say the choice was go to institutional investor, go to investor who is interested in development, not let's say quick dividends. Yeah, and that is a choice, and also the source of money matters. I mean, you know, it's not any money. You know, it's like you have to, because if you're doing something for a long term, then like, you know, you have to make sure that money coming from right sources.
Great. Any more questions? Probably in the back.
Hi, Mr. Zizruziev, Pilot Uzbekistan. My question is with respect to entering the banking market for the new players. We all know that there are certain restrictions imposed by the central bank for the new players to come into the market. And does EBRD or IFC, as institutional financial institutions, plan to work with central bank on lifting those or at least easing those? Thank you.
That's probably a question for me rather than the panelists. Okay, we're working very actively with the central bank and the other players in the market. As you know, that the financial sector is dominated by the state banks. It is 85% of the market. And our role is really to increase the presence of the private banks. So we're not really, you know, working on bringing the new banks into the market, to be honest. I think there's a lot of work that can be done with transforming the existing players. And once that is done, then potentially we can lobby for new players. But at the moment, yes, it's privatizations of the two largest banks, which is our main focus at the moment, as the President has noted yesterday during his speech. I think this is more active side of the audience.
Hello everyone, my name is Khashimov. Thank you very much for EBRD and all participants for such a wonderful event today. I have a question. We know that EBRD has a quite a big experience worldwide with working with private equity. But in Uzbekistan, we know that many entrepreneur companies are pretty new working with EBRD. So the question is both for Korzinka owner and TBC, what was the most challenging part during the process of private equity with EBRD? Thank you.
Should I?
Okay, go on.
So I would say, you know, EBRD is a huge institution which has lots of verticals, and there are many people involved in decision making, because this is how the institution manages its funds and deploys its funds. So I would say, for me, if I go back and think about the process, the process itself was I would say, I wouldn't call it long, but this is how it is, you know, when you approach EBRD or institutions like EBRD, which goes through many levels and many hierarchies and many committees, and the decision is done in 360 manner. So I think it's just about the expectation management. You know, when you approach institution like EBRD, you have to know that the topic will be discussed from many angles. You know, there will be many people involved. The questions will be asked from many angles. And this is just the way you approach your expectation. So this would be my answer.
I think we can move to the next question, the gentleman here.
Hi everyone, I'm Batir from Turkmenistan. Thanks firstly for EBRD and Uzbek side for organizing this event. It's great to be here. I have a question to Korzinka, if possible. We are, as the clients of EBRD in Turkmenistan, we have a loan from EBRD. Did you have that experience? Did you have loan possibly from EBRD? And what is the difference between loan and equity? I think that you partly answered actually this question. But in terms of what is the profound difference? And the second question is to you, if possible. We are in agribusiness in Turkmenistan, and is it possible in agribusiness too for going for equity or in that sectors too?
Yeah, well, like by definition, you know, loan, when you take a loan, you return it with interest and on a time frame, which is this loan is fixed. And when you talk about equity, they go full partners with you. They put money and you know, they suffer your loss. When you make loss, they enjoy your growth. When you make a profit, etc. So it is if you're talking about like decision making of a loan and this, you know, I would say equity is when you're ready to share upside of your growth, and equity is actually, I would say, as I said, more personal, you know, like it's more close relationship, yeah? So.
Okay, thank you. We have a question, an interesting one and an important one from our online audience. What exit strategy should you be considering when partnering with EBRD? And you have two different ones here.
Exit strategy,
strategy
for us from EBRD or vice versa?
Well, probably the question should be phrased differently. Yeah.
I mean, EBRD, as any investor, basically wants to have a vision on the exit and how the investment can be materialized, you know, and there are different time frames. I wouldn't go into the details, but definitely there is an exit discussion which is somehow linked to our relationship, and from our side we are creating the comfort for EBRD for the exit long term. But this is what I have to mention is that this is a long-term relationship. This is not an investment which should materialize in several years, because the main purpose of EBRD is to help you develop, and this is how the exit also is basically considered and discussed. I wouldn't go into more details.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, of course, EBRD is a development bank, and they have their kind of prospect for exit. If it is questioned to me, like I don't want to exit, so I want to stay. Talking about EBRD's exit, again, personal this, I want to keep bringing growth for years to go. EBRD not thinking about it again.
Great, thank you very much. That's a big acknowledgement, I think, of our work. Thank you. And I think we'll finish off with one last question to you both. If anyone is considering partnering up with EBRD, what advice would you give them?
Well, I would say it is a good prospect to study. I don't know if it is applicable. In our case, I think it's very, very lucky for us and hope for both sides going this. But Well, what I would say, like, you know, is assess correctly your growth potential when you're discussing valuation.
I would absolutely agree, and especially, you know, we are also a startup to an extent. And I would add, you know, you have to have a clear understanding why you want EBRD by your side to make the full use of this partnership. And I would say, you know, of course, you have to value yourself properly and fight for it. And on the other hand, you have to know exactly why you are going into this relationship, because sometimes, you know, it sounds just nice to have big institutional investor by your side, but it can go wrong too. So you have to be very clear and understandable about why you are doing that.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank
I think
you.
that concludes our session. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our panelists. Just to wrap up, you now know that EBRD only can take minority stakes, and the choice of the partner is very important for us, whether it's a private entrepreneur like Zafar or whether it's a big sponsor like TBC Group. And we're not afraid of getting the company ready to that investment stage, because you know that in both cases it took some years to get there. And once we do invest, all the hard work starts of actually building the company up, doing it together in a partnership. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, we are happy to answer, myself and my partners here. And of course, I have a lot of my team members from private equity today. Otherwise, see you at the party.
Thank you.
Yeah, мы сидим. Thank you.